Hey yo, what's good? It's me, Saul, and welcome to a tier list video, a ranking video whereby I am going to be allocating and ranking what I personally think the best and worst staple spell cards in the game are. Now, this is an interesting one because a lot of this, there is no quantifiable, except for Book of Moon. For Book of Moon, it's quantifiable. We already know where that card is going. But other than that, it's not really a quantifiable metric as to how good a staple card is. In fact, it's not really that quantifiable as to what a staple card is. Like, I included the cards that I believed to be staple cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, either currently or maybe way back when, right? But some people may have other cards that they think should be on this list that aren't here, or cards that are on this list that they think don't make sense, right? So it really is subjective. Don't kill me, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is just get right into it. The metric that I'm going to be basing this off of is I'm going to primarily be focusing on the game as it is now, but also, you know, having a bit of a nostalgic look back, seeing where we've been, where we've come from, how we've grown effectively. This isn't informational for you to be like, oh, this is the spell card that I should buy, unless it's Book of Moon. Get Book of Moon. But it's more so just like my personal opinions as to where things rank. You could use this as to say, okay, these are the cards I'm gonna go after first and foremost based on the reasons that he gives for where they're placed. But like, that's your prerogative. All right, so we're gonna get right started. I've already said it twice. You know what it is. I know what it is. Book of Moon goes in S. Ever since Book of Moon got added into the game, it has been everywhere. If you have Book of Moon, you use Book of Moon. See, oh, hold on. Am I about to second guess myself? Because that being said, I have 3 copies of Book of Moon, and none of the decks that I've been playing recently have I haven't been using it, right? Like it is definitely the best generic spell in the game, but if you're not looking to play generic spells and you're looking to use spells that actually feed into what an archetype does, like its gameplay and its core strategy, I'm being ridiculous. All of this headcanon. Book of Moon is an amazing card and it's staying in S. It's just an interesting thing to think about, right? Where if you're trying to build an archetype specific deck, Book of Moon can go in there because Book of Moon is a good card, but not necessarily because it synergizes with the deck. It's interesting to think about because Book of Moon is everywhere because it's good, not because it syncs up with the strategy. Like for instance, something like we're going to be getting to Econ soon. Econ with Heretics would be perfect. Like, it fits like a glove within that deck, and I can't think of any decks that Book of Moon really fits into in that way. But hey, it is what it is. It's staying in S rank. I don't know why I'm still talking to you about it. Next up is Concentrating Current. It's an older card. Now, what this card does, for anyone who doesn't know, is it takes one monster's defense and then it adds that onto its attack for the battle step, the battle phase, effectively, when it attacks. But that monster is the only monster of yours that can attack. Now, just for the attack boost alone, because certain decks like a Blue Eyes can get to 5,500 attack with this, but it also has that downside where it's the only monster of yours that can't attack. So it's not as easy as you might think it would be to push for lethal with a card like this. It's also got a limit 2 strapped onto it, so it's not going to be in a lot of places. I remember way back when it used to be relatively popular, but right now, thinking of the here and now, I personally like this card, but I think this is one of the staples that I'm the least likely to include in any given deck, despite the fact that it's decent. Like, it only has a battle phase relevance. It's not disrupting my opponent, and so if I get Karma Cut, this card can't do anything about it. If my opponent is doing X, Y, Z, or the other, it's not helping me. So I'm sorry, Concentrating Current, you stay in D. Up next is Cosmic Cyclone, and I'm putting that in A. Right? I know a lot of people might think that that's an S rank card, and I can see the argument as to why it would be. I love Cosmic Cyclone because it has that banish effect where it gets rid of the card, and then obviously it has a life point requirement to trigger a lot of skills. That means you can put it in a lot of places. There's a lot of color on its fit. That's really, really nice and everything, but I've been in one too many situations where I've lost too many life points to actually be able to activate my Cosmic Cyclone, so it ends up just becoming a dead card in my hand, which I like to know that I can rely on every single card in my deck, right? I don't like situations where it's like, oh, I drew a card completely dead, no use whatsoever. So the fact that if your life points get too low, because for me, the way I play, the only life point that matters is the last one, right? Like, you don't lose until you lose every single life point. So I will happily take hits in order to make plays or conserve resources or X and Y and Z. So a card like Cosmic doesn't always pair in super well with that for me, but it is a quick play spell, which is amazing. So if your opponent sets a card on their turn and passes it back, you can just Cosmic right before it actually activates and you're good to go. So it's a great card, but just because of my personal, I'm putting that in A. I'm putting that in A. Up next is Econ. Now this might surprise you, but I'm putting Econ in C. Econ is a great card for what it is. The problem with Econ is the fact that it's been limited to for the longest time. Now, Econ used to be an amazing card that people would slap in every deck. It was so good, it was so powerful, but then it got its limit 2. And the problem with it having a limit 2 is it is nowhere near one of the best limit 2 cards in the game. Like I have not, unless a deck like Heretics, like I mentioned earlier, unless a deck specifically wants to be tributed or has a strategy specifically focused around changing battle positions or something like that, you don't use Econ over the other limit 2s. You use TTH, you use Hey Trunade, you use the other cards, Neofusion, it's if it wasn't limit 2, the card for its effect alone would be B or A rank in my opinion. If not, no, I don't think I'd put it in S rank, but like for the fact that it's never used anymore because of that limit 2, and that limit 2 is necessary because like Econ would be everywhere if it was unlimited because it's a good card, but it's not good now because there's no point in using it over a different limit. You get what I mean? Like I don't like that effect. So moving on. Up next is Forbidden Chalice, and I love this card. I love Forbidden Chalice. The reason being, as a quick play spell, it's some great disruption, right? I like cards that are multifaceted. So this card will boost up your attack in a pinch. If you need 400 attack, that's really cool, but you can also use it to negate your opponent's effects, which is really, really good. So that's just some free disruption that you can use at any point in time, right? Just quick play negate an effect, which that's a photon strike bouncer, but it's better than bouncer because it negates the effects for the entire turn, right? Like, and on top of that, it has no limits on it whatsoever, so you can run this card at 3 if you want to. I just think it's a really, really good card, and with Gaia coming out, it's even better because it resets guys. Nah, this is A rank. Now, moving on, I'm putting Forbidden Lance. Ooh, do I put Lance in S or do I put it in A? I feel like I put Lance in S, and let me explain why. I hate back row. I hate back row with a burning passion. And so a card that not only, because if I summon a monster and you try and Karma Cut me and then I activate Forbidden Lance, not only have you used the Karma Cut and discarded a card, my monster's unaffected. So you gone -2, well technically -1 because I went -1 and then you went -2, so you went -1 in Cardiff. Anyway, you've wasted your resources. Meanwhile, I'm completely unaffected and I can make my plays like nothing happened. I can do it on your turn as well. Let's say you try and Book of Moon an important monster. Lance, nope, that doesn't happen. And then I can use it offensively. Let's say you attack into me, I can make you lose 800 attack during... Nah, S. This card goes in S in my opinion. Ooh, does it go in A? No, it goes in S. It goes in S. Up next is Galaxy Cyclone, which is like the little brother, like baby's best friend. I think it's a mid-range card, right? I like it because I feel like it meets you in the middle. You can destroy a set card, and then on the next turn you can destroy a face-up card. Like I like that versatility, that utility. It's easy enough to get as well because it's in the half-price sales, and it's also it's got a bundle deal for it now, which is really good. Is that a B? Do I feel like that's a B? Because it's not a quick play like all of the other removal spells, so it doesn't get used as often. But I do feel like it's underrated to an extent because you just destroy a set card. And unlike some other cards, like if you destroy a card that's currently set and they flip it face up, that card still gets destroyed. So let's say it's a Fiendish Chain and they want to flip it face, like no, it's gone. Your card is gone. Goodbye, broski. And then you can use it for another destruction on the following turn. I feel like B for balance. I feel like that's a balanced card. And it's about to have some company because Herald of the Abyss, I'm gonna put right. Ooh, do I put Herald of the Abyss there or do I put it higher? Because again, it has the same problem whereby it's not a quick play spell, but it has some great removal because it's non-targeted, non-destruct. Your opponent has to send one card with certain specifications to the graveyard if you pay 1,500 life points, and that is a hefty life point cost. So just like Cosmic Cyclone, it has that drawback of not being usable sometimes, but it's great. It's non-targeted, non-destruct. But your opponent also has a choice. So let's say they're running an archetype of monsters with all the same level, all the same attribute, all the same type. Then they could just choose a monster that you don't want them to choose. But like that doesn't happen all that often. It's really good removal. It's really strong. It's not quick play. It's not. Yeah, I think I'm gonna leave that in B. I'm gonna leave that in B for balance. I like the look. I like the cut of your jib in B. I like the cut of your jib in B. Up next is Hey Trunade. Now, if I'm completely honest, I think Hey Trunade goes in A. A lot of salty people are gonna want Hey Trunade in S because they think it should be banned. I personally, I'm not of the opinion that Hey Trunade needs a ban. I know it's very, very powerful. However, there's a couple of factors that make it not as good as one might think. For instance, if an OTK deck is using Hey Trunade, yes, that's a powerful board wipe. You also have to consider the fact that if you're dealing with continuous spells and traps, Hey Trunade can't send them back. You can only send back set things, which is really, really good. But on top of that, it's got a limit 2 on it, which means the likelihood of you being able to draw into it is even lessened, right? So I feel like if not for that limit 2, it would be an S, right? If it wasn't limit 2, it would be an S tier card. Because it's limit 2, your chances of drawing it, because it's the most useful at the very beginning of the game. Turn 1, turn 2, you want to bounce everything back and make a play, right? So because it's limit 2, the chances of that happening are slimmer, which is why I think I'm going to leave that in A rank. Now, Lightning Vortex, it has to either be a B or an A. It has to be a B or an A, or is it potentially an S? Because the thing about Lightning Vortex is it's non-targeted destruction, which is amazing, but it has a discard cost. But then a lot of decks like a discard cost, but not every deck can do it. You destroy all monsters your opponent controls, which is good, but on turn 1, this card is dead. Right? So I definitely think it's higher than B. I definitely think Lightning Vortex is higher than B. Even though you're not seeing it everywhere right now, I feel like there will come a meta game where like maybe there's a deck that's great at swarming the field, where this card becomes a lot more viable. In fact, it's currently viable against Resonators, against Harpies, against Blue Eyes, right? So I do quite like it. I think A rank is where you belong. I think you belong in A rank. It's almost like a Hey Trunade for monsters, basically. Not exactly, but that's how I feel about it in my heart of hearts, right? That's how I feel about it. So I'm gonna leave that there. And next we have MST. So MST is basically Cosmic Cyclone's little brother Jimmy from across the street. I don't know why your little brother would live across the street. Shut up. Anyway. Right? So the thing about MST, are there any downsides to MST other than the fact that I don't personally have it? I don't think that there are. I think MST is a literally perfect card. I mean, I guess the fact that you're destroying spells and traps. No, destroying spells and traps is actually good because you can, if someone has Treacherous Trap Hole in their deck, you can turn 2 cards in their deck into a dead card by destroying a single trap. MST is S tier, but I don't have it, so it's staying in A. Up next is Necro Valley, which I do have. I have 3 copies of Necro Valley, and Necro Valley is a beautiful, beautiful card. It's, I personally think, somewhat overrated. It locks down your graveyard, but it doesn't lock down graveyard effects, right? If a card would move out of the graveyard, that effect is negated. But if a card can stay in the graveyard while activating its effect still goes through. But I think it's great for controlling the pacing of a duel. I think it's an amazing card regardless of that fact. It's very good at holding things down. And so yeah, I'm gonna put that in S. Next up is Neofusion, and I feel like I need to explain why I've put this in here. I feel like I've put Neofusion in here because different people have different definitions of what a staple is, but I feel like Neofusion fits into so many decks at this point that it would be a crime not to include it in a staple tier list, right? It's got a limit 2 slapped on it, which isn't great, which means it can't be, you would have to choose this over other limit 2 cards, which does hurt it. Now, if that limit 2 was removed, I would put Neofusion in A, but I think currently I'm going to put that in B. Next is Nightbeam, which is the little brother of the little brother. It's your little brother's little brother, but it's not your little brother. You have familial issues. So, this card can target, it destroys a set card, and that card can't be activated in response to this, right? So it's just a guaranteed way of sniping. Let's say you're in the mid game. And your opponent set a Karma Cut, and they're about to use it on you when they pass it back to your turn, and you've already established a board, so you're gonna get Karma Cutted. You activate this, and the Karma Cut can't be activated, whereas if you used MST or Cosmic or even Galaxy, that card would still be activatable. They would just they would chain the Karma Cut to your activation and still Karma Cut your monster. This would completely protect you from it. Why am I putting this in C? Is it because I don't have it again? It might be because I don't have it again. I feel like this is on par just saying it out loud, that sounds like it's on par with Galaxy at the very least. I feel like that's at least on par with Galaxy Cyclone. Next up is Offerings to the Doomed, a card that I do have but never use, because to me, card advantage is one of the most important things in card games. You can target one monster on the field, quick play, destroy it, which is amazing disruption, but in my opinion, the cost is just too high. You have to skip your next draw phase, and almost no, unless you're like maybe Infernities or something who wants to have an empty hand. I hate Infernities because like I like card advantage. I love holding resources in my hand. I'm greedy like that, and this just isn't for me. This just isn't for me. Next, I've got Polymerization. I know that this is a bit of a weird choice, but like Poly is Poly, right? Like Poly is everywhere, but I'm putting it in D tier because despite being the original fusion card, it is the least fusiony fusion card that you would want to fusion with, right? Like you would rather have if a deck has a faster way of fusion summoning, you immediately take out Polymerization, right? Like it's great for what it does. When you're doing what it does, then that's really, really good. But like it's the one that you want the least. Like you want, if a deck has fusion potential, you want it to either have the contact fusion or something else that like helps to speed it up so you don't have to use this card. And if you're looking for ways to not use a card, then I think it belongs in D tier. Up next, I added in Power of the Guardians. Now, Power of the Guardians is great when you're new at the game. I think a lot of people think that it's not a good card, like, oh, you shouldn't use it, you shouldn't this, you shouldn't that. I feel like you should. I get why they say that, but I don't like discouraging potential builds, deck building ideas, creativity, because there are ways to use this card in a great, even somewhat broken way. The Red Eyes version of this, the Red Eyes build that includes this, it's obviously not top tier potential. It's a decent enough deck. It's fun, right? I do enjoy the card, and let's say you added this to a deck specifically. Like I remember using this card in a Dark Magician build for a specific reason. Its activation on my attack meant that there were some effects that I could chain to it and all that kind of stuff. Like I could summon Illusion Magician and just a couple of other things. Like the purpose of my deck basically was it had a degree of synergy with this card, which I appreciated. I don't hate this card the way some people do. I feel like it's a fun card to use. I play this game to have fun first and foremost. The reason I'm putting it in C is because it is easy enough to deal with. I gotta be honest with you, like I think at least 4 of the cards, no, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of the cards, 6 of the cards above this card, right? And even some of the cards under it, like what? Yeah, no, there are just so many ways to deal with it. Just remove it from the field or remove the monster from the field and it's gone. So that's why I'm gonna put it in C. I agree it's not the greatest thing in the world. I just don't like how bad everyone talks about it. It hurts my feelings a little, right? Up next is Super Rush Headlong. Old OG card, really, really good. It's a battle phase quick play effect, which already isn't the greatest thing in the world, but it's non-targeted destruction, which non-targeted destruction does sound nice in my ears, but battle phase effects aren't always the greatest. How do I feel about this? This is a B or a C to me. Do I feel like this is on par with Neofusion? I don't feel like it's on par with Neofusion, so I'm gonna put you up here, right? And last is World Legacy Clash. Don't talk to me, don't ask me questions, that's going in A. I don't have to explain myself to you. I know the whole point of this video is that I explain myself to you, but shut up. Anyway, no, I like this card because I feel like it just creates for some really unique gameplay, interaction, settings, scenarios. You reset your original attack, you reduce your opponent's attack. If you time it properly and wait for your opponent to enter the damage calculation phase, you banish this card, your opponent can't attack again with that monster, and then you reduce the attack of a different monster. That one card negates 2 attacks, basically. Let's say you're using an XYZ focused deck. You can't use this card on an XYZ monster, but you can use this card on a monster that you want to make it to the next turn to be an XYZ material. Like there's just a lot of uses for it. I really, really, really enjoy its usage and its gameplay. Despite being a limit 2, it's a card that I will happily include in certain decks. So that is my staple tier list. I hope you enjoyed my fun, rant, rambling type beat kind of style. If you did, consider subscribing, joining the fam, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.